Right then, listen up. Let's talk about Porsche. Not just any Porsche, mind you. We're talking about the Big Daddy, the 911, the legend. But where did it all begin? Well, back in the 1930s, a bloke named Ferdinand Porsche set up shop. He knew a thing or two about cars. He even had a hand in the Volkswagen Beetle, the people's car. But Ferry Porsche, his son, had bigger dreams. He wanted to create a sports car, a proper driver's car. The Porsche 356 was a good start. A little nippy thing, but they needed something more. Something faster, more powerful, more 911. The 911 wasn't meant to replace the 356, not at first anyway. It was aimed at a different beast altogether. The world wasn't ready for what was about to hit it. See, the 911 was more than just a car. It was a statement, a revolution on wheels. It was a rear-engined marvel, a concept that had everyone scratching their heads. How could something so unconventional be so brilliant? That's the magic of Porsche for you. The year was 1963, the place Frankfurt Motor Show. The world got its first glimpse of the Porsche 901, as it was initially called. But Peugeot kicked up a fuss, claiming they owned the rights to car names with a zero in the middle. Typical French, right? So, Porsche, being the clever sausages they are, simply changed the 0 to a 1. The Porsche 911 was born. This wasn't just some rebadged 356. Oh no, this was a whole new animal. Sleek, stylish, and with curves in all the right places. It was a head-turner, this one. The 911 was a proper driver's car. It had a rear-mounted, air-cooled flat-six engine, 130 horses, ready to gallop. Not a huge amount, you might think. But trust me, it was enough to get your heart racing. The 911 was nimble, responsive, and handled like a dream. It became an instant classic. Racers loved it, enthusiasts adored it. It was a car that spoke to your soul, or at least it spoke to the part of your soul that yearned for speed and adventure. The 911 wasn't content to rest on its laurels. Oh no, Porsche kept tinkering, kept improving, kept pushing the boundaries. In 1966, they introduced the 911 as more power, 160 horses now. They also gave it disc brakes all round, safety first and all that. And for those who wanted a bit of wind in their hair, there was the Targa, a halfway house between a coupe and a convertible. It had a removable roof panel, you see, very stylish. The late 60s saw the 911 grow in size ever so slightly. They needed to make room for those bigger engines, you see. And the suspension, that got some tweaks too, all in the name of performance. But the essence of the 911 remained, that unmistakable silhouette, the bug-eyed headlights, the sloping roofline. It was still the car that had captured the hearts of enthusiasts worldwide. Fast forward to the 1970s, a decade of, shall we say, interesting fashion choices, but amidst the platform shoes and flares, Porsche was busy cooking up something special, something groundbreaking. They took their already potent 911 and bolted on a turbocharger. Yes, you heard that right, a turbocharger. The 911 Turbo, also known as the 930, was born in 1975. This wasn't just about going faster, although with 260 horsepower on tap, it certainly did that. 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds. This was a weapon. The Turbo was a statement. It showed the world that Porsche was at the forefront of automotive technology. It was a technological marvel, pushing the boundaries of what was possible with a road car. But it wasn't for the faint of heart. Oh no, the Turbo was a wild child. It demanded respect. It had a tendency to oversteer if you weren't careful, which, let's be honest, just added to its charm. It was a car that separated the boys from the men, a true test of driving skill. Section 5, Evolution and Revolution. The 911 in the 1980s. The 1980s, a decade of big hair and shoulder pads. But while the fashion was questionable, Porsche was busy refining the 911 even further. The Carrera became the main model. They introduced things like fuel injection and a more modern interior. But they never messed with that classic 911 formula. Rear-engined, flat-six, air-cooled, it was the perfect recipe. And then there was the Porsche 959. Now, this was a bit special. A technological tour de force, four-wheel drive, a twin-turbocharged engine, and all sorts of aerodynamic wizardry. It was a supercar that could do it all. The 959 was a glimpse into the future of Porsche. It showcased their engineering prowess and their commitment to innovation. It was a car that pushed the boundaries of what was possible, and it looked absolutely mega, didn't it? Section 6, a modern classic emerges, the 964 and 993. Now we're getting to the good stuff, the 1990s, the decade of grunge and the internet, but more importantly, the decade of the 964 and 993 generation 911S. The 964 arrived in 1989. It was a significant evolution. It had all-wheel drive as an option and a new suspension system, but the biggest change, power steering, about blooming time, some might say. Then came the 993 in 1993. This was the last of the air-cooled 911S, and some say the purest expression of the 911 philosophy. It was a beautiful car, sleek, elegant, and with those iconic bug-eyed headlights. But this time, they were integrated into the bodywork, a masterclass in design. The 993 was also a joy to drive. It handled like a dream, the engine was a peach, and it sounded absolutely glorious. It was the 911 that had it all, performance, style, and that certain something that made it a cut above the rest. Section 7, water-cooled and wonderful, the 996 generation. Now this is where things get a bit controversial. The late 1990s saw the arrival of the 996 generation. This was a radical departure for the 911. Gone was the air-cooled engine, replaced by a water-cooled unit. Sacrilege, some cried, but Porsche knew what they were doing. The water-cooled engine was more powerful, more efficient, and met those pesky emission standards. The 996 also marked a significant change in design. It was more rounded, more modern. Some even said it looked a bit like wait for it, a Boxster, the horror, but look beyond the initial shock, and you'll find a brilliant car. It was faster, more refined, and more technologically advanced than any 911 before it. The 996 was a turning point for the 911. It brought the car into the modern era, paving the way for the technological marvels that would follow. Section 8, a return to form. The 997 takes the stage. In 2004, Porsche silenced the doubters with the 997. This was a return to form, a proper 911. It had the classic bug-eyed headlights back and a more muscular stance. The 997 was a masterpiece. It combined the best of the old and the new. It was a technological marvel, but with the soul of a classic 911. The engines were more powerful than ever, and the handling was out of this world. Porsche also introduced the PDK gearbox in the 997, a lightning-fast dual-clutch transmission that shifted gears quicker than you could say Porsche Doppelkupplungsgetriebe. The 997 was a driver's car through and through. It was engaging, rewarding, and put a smile on your face every time you got behind the wheel. Section 9, the modern marvel, the 991 and 992. And now we come to the present day. The 991 generation arrived in 2011, followed by the 992 in 2019. And let me tell you, these are proper 21st century supercars. The 991 was a technological tour de force. It had all the latest gadgets and gizmos, but it never lost sight of what made the 911 so special. The 992 took things even further. It's faster, more powerful, and more sophisticated than ever before. But it's still a 911 through and through, rear-engined, flat six, and with that unmistakable silhouette. The 992 is a testament to Porsche's commitment to innovation and their dedication to building the ultimate driver's car. Section 10, a legacy forged in competition, but the 911 isn't just a road car. Oh no, it's a legend on the track as well. From Le Mans to the Nürburgring, the 911 has conquered them all. It's racked up more motorsport victories than you can shake a stick at. The 911's success in racing has directly influenced the development of the road cars. All those technological innovations, all those aerodynamic tweaks, they all stem from Porsche's desire to win. And it's this constant pursuit of excellence that makes the 911 so special. It's a car that's constantly evolving, constantly improving. But it never forgets its roots. It always stays true to the principles that made it a legend in the first place. Section 11, the future is bright. The enduring legacy of the Porsche 911. So there you have it. The Porsche 911, a car that's been around for over 60 years and is still going strong. It's a car that transcends generations. It's a car that inspires passion and admiration in equal measure. The 911 is a timeless classic. It's a car that will never go out of style. It's a car that will continue to excite and inspire for generations to come. So if you ever get the chance to drive a 911, grab it with both hands. You won't regret it. It's an experience you'll never forget. It's a car that gets under your skin. It's a car that you'll fall in love with. And it's a car that will stay with you long after you've handed back the keys.